Fraction rule sheet. So here's how we're going to fill this one out. This rule sheet is for you to keep in your binder. Fraction rules are not something we teach in Math 1, but it's something we use a lot in Math 1. We'll be doing a lot of fractions, and it's important that we remember how to work with fractions. So we're taking a little time to make a condensed fraction rule sheet for ourselves so that we can refer to it when we are in more complex Math 1 type of problems. So what you're going to do for this is for each section you have a couple of problems to solve. In this case we're simplifying, here we're converting to improper fractions, or from improper fractions to mixed numbers, etc. And then, so in this column you will work out the problems, and in this column you'll explain how you did it in words. And this will then serve as a note sheet for you later when you are working through a harder Math 1 problem and you are wondering, I forgot the rule for multiplying fractions. You can look at this reference sheet. So the things that you can use if you need a review of how to simplify fractions or how to convert from an improper fraction to a mixed number or anything on this sheet, there's a couple of things you can use. If you go here and you click on this, this is a fractions reference sheet. And it just is a condensed 2 pages of how to do most of these operations here with fractions, with examples. If you need a more in-depth review, then each of these headings here is a link to a Khan Academy video on how to simplify fractions, for example, or convert from an improper fraction to a mixed number. So you can do a more in-depth review by watching those videos. All right, we did just a couple together in class. We did this first one, labeling the numerator and denominator. So the number on top of the fraction is called the numerator. And the number on the bottom is called the denominator. And then we did these simplifying fractions. We did one of these. So when you simplify a fraction, you have to divide the numerator and denominator by the greatest common factor. And abbreviation for greatest common factor is GCF. So the greatest common factor is the biggest number that goes into both numbers. So when we're looking here, 8 and 12, the greatest common factor of 8 and 12, the biggest number that divides into both of them, is 4. So let's take a moment to define that. Greatest common factor is the biggest number that divides into both. In this case, 8 divided by 4 is 2, 12 divided by 4 is 3. And there's no more common factors of 2 and 3. There's no other number besides 1 that goes into both 2 and 3, so that is the fraction in the simplest form. Sometimes you may simplify a fraction by not seeing the greatest common factor first. So you might look at 8 and 12 and think, oh, they're both divisible by 2. And that's okay, because then we get 4, 6. But we have to ask ourselves, are there any other common factors of 4 and 6 in this case? 4 and 6 could themselves both be divided by 2, and that will get us to 2/3. So it's okay if you don't hit on the greatest common factor first. You might just have to simplify one more time. Lastly, the reason we are allowed to do this, to divide the top and the bottom by the same number and come out with a fraction that is still an equivalent fraction, 2/3 is equal to 8/12. 8/12 of a pizza is the same amount of pizza as 2/3 of a pizza. And the reason we haven't changed the value when we go from 8/12 to 2/3 is that we divided the top and the bottom by the same number. We divided the top by 4, the bottom by 4, and when you look at this, I'm going to change colors here. Oops. Sorry. colors. When you look at this right here, 4 over 4, that equals 1, right? Whenever you divide something by 1, or multiply by 1, you don't change its value. So that's why we are allowed to, or what we did here, we divided by 2 over 2, divided by 2 over 2. All of those equal 1, so they haven't changed the value. They've just put it in simpler terms. So for the rest of this sheet, you're going to, so you still have one here, solve the problems, and then explain how to do them in your own words. Solve, explain. And again, you can click on the videos here, watch and learn how to do it, and or get the quicker version of the rules just written out here in the fraction reference sheet. And then that's all fractions. All fractions. And on page 3, we get a part that is converting fractions to decimals and percents. So here we have a new reference sheet for quick reference, and then we still have individual videos for each one. Okay.